Welcome to my channel where we explore the darkest corners of your imagination. Tonight's story is one that will make you think twice before taking that next road trip. Sarah and her friends, craving an adventure, decided to drive into the remote Blackwood Mountains. It was a place locals whispered about, a place you didn't go after dark. They laughed it off, thinking it was just small-town superstition. The city lights faded behind them, replaced by a canopy of ancient trees that seemed to swallow the sky. The first sign that something was wrong came when the GPS suddenly went dead. The screen just flickered and died. "No signal," Mark announced from the driver's seat. But no one was too concerned. They had a paper map after all. As they ventured deeper, the paved road turned into a narrow, twisting dirt track. A thick, cold fog rolled in, clinging to the ground like a shroud, reducing visibility to just a few feet ahead of the headlights. The forest grew unnaturally quiet. No crickets, no rustling animals, just the crunch of tires on gravel. At first, they joked about the eerie silence, making spooky noises to break the tension. But then, they started hearing things that weren't part of their game. Faint whispers, like the wind carrying secrets, seemed to slip through the cracks of the car doors. They'd all fall silent, trying to place the sound, but it would vanish as quickly as it came. Shadows began to dance at the edge of their vision, flickering along the roadside. They weren't just the shadows of trees. These moved with a life of their own, darting and stretching in ways that defied logic. Liam, in the back seat, swore he saw a tall, slender figure standing by a tree, but when he blinked, it was gone. They were all starting to feel it, now a heavy, oppressive feeling, like the air itself was pressing down on them. The initial excitement had curdled into a quiet, simmering dread. Up ahead, a single light flickered through the fog. Relief washed over them as they pulled up to what looked like an old, abandoned gas station. The sign was rusted, the pumps were draped in cobwebs, and a thick layer of dust covered everything. It was clearly deserted, a relic from another time. Yet as they got closer, the light in the small office window flickered on, casting a sickly yellow glow. It blinked on and off, like a slow, deliberate heartbeat. There was no one inside. They could see the empty counter, the overturned chair, but the light kept blinking. An icy breeze swept through the car, making them all shiver, even though the windows were tightly shut. It felt as if someone had opened a freezer door right next to them. And then they heard a faint, childlike laughter echoing from the deep woods behind the station. It was distant but clear, a sound so out of place it sent a fresh wave of terror through them. Mark slammed his foot on the gas, and they sped away from the blinking light, leaving the ghostly laughter behind, or so they thought. Their destination was the old Blackwood Hotel, an abandoned lodge they'd planned to explore. As they rounded a final bend, it loomed before them, a skeletal silhouette against the darkening sky. Its windows were black pits, but as their headlights swept across the facade, something was wrong. The reflections in the glass didn't show the empty forest. For a split second, Sarah saw figures in the reflection gaunt, pale figures standing just behind their car. She whipped her head around, but the back seat was empty except for her friends. When she looked back at the hotel, the reflections were normal again. They parked the car and cautiously approached the entrance. The heavy oak doors, which should have been locked and barred, creaked open with a low groan as they got near, swinging inward as if inviting them in. The air inside was stale and freezing. Dust motes danced in the beams of their flashlights, revealing a grand but decayed lobby. A chandelier hung precariously from the ceiling, its crystals coated in grime. As they stepped inside, the doors swung shut behind them with a deafening boom, plunging them into near-total darkness. Panic flared. They fumbled with their phones, but the screens were blank. The flashlights were their only guide. They noticed small things at first. A chair in the corner of the lobby seemed to be angled differently than it was a moment ago. A stack of old newspapers on a table shifted slightly when no one was looking directly at it. The feeling of being watched was overwhelming now, a physical presence in the room with them. They decided to stick together and explore the ground floor, but the hotel had other plans. The hallways seemed to stretch and twist in impossible ways. They'd walk down a long corridor, turn a corner, and find themselves right back in the main lobby. They tried it 3 times, each time taking a different turn, but the result was the same. The hotel was a maze, and it was playing with them. Outside, the sound of footsteps began to circle the building, slow and deliberate, crunching on the dead leaves. but every time they shined a light out the window, there was nothing there. A cold spot would suddenly appear in a room, and if you walked through it, you'd feel the unmistakable sensation of icy fingers brushing against your neck or shoulder. Chloe screamed when a fleeting shadow darted across the wall in front of her. It wasn't just a shadow. For a moment, it took the shape of a hand, pressing against the wallpaper as if trying to push through from the other side. Our cameras, which they'd hoped to use to document their adventure, were useless. The lenses were just black, refusing to capture an image. Desperate to leave, they rushed back outside to the car, but it wouldn't start. The engine just sputtered and died. They were trapped. As true night fell, the hours began to stretch, each minute feeling like an eternity. The walls of the hotel started to hum with a low vibrational energy, and woven into the hum were faint whispers, fragments of conversations from travelers who had come to this place years ago and never left. The windows fogged over from the inside, despite the cold. On the condensation, the faint outlines of faces would appear, their expressions twisted in silent screams, only to vanish the moment someone tried to wipe the glass. By midnight, full-blown panic had set in. They huddled together in the lobby, too terrified to move. Leaving was impossible. The path they'd driven in on seemed to have vanished, replaced by an endless looping darkness. Then the visions started. Each of them saw something different, a private horror movie playing out in their mind's eye. Sarah saw a family from the 1950s, their faces pale and translucent, silently pointing towards the dense forest. Mark saw a lone hiker, his form flickering like a bad projection, his mouth open in a scream that made no sound. They were the ghosts of the Blackwood Mountains, the others who hadn't escaped. The night was a blur of terror, of whispers and shadows, and the constant feeling of being watched by 1,000 unseen eyes. The last thing Sarah remembered before dawn finally broke was that feeling, the suffocating weight of countless gazes. All judging, all waiting. As the first rays of sunlight pierced through the fog, something seemed to break. The car started. Without a word, they sped away, not looking back. When she finally emerged onto a normal paved road, the forest behind them looked quiet, peaceful even. But the faint, chilling laughter lingered in her ears, a ghostly echo on the wind. It was a permanent scar, a reminder that some places hold on to their visitors, and some journeys are never, ever meant to be completed. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more tales from the shadows. Thank you for watching.